Emotions, they define much of who we are as human beings. They guide our choices, shape our reactions, and even determine how we connect with others. For women, emotions hold an especially powerful place in their lives, often intricately tied to their thoughts, actions, and relationships. Yet, there's a profound truth many people may not fully understand. The emotional triggers that women experience are complex, multi-layered, and unique to each individual. They aren't just about mood swings or emotional outbursts. They are tied to deeper psychological patterns, ingrained experiences, and often, societal influences that women learn to navigate daily. We often think of emotional triggers as something that sets off an immediate reaction. It might be a comment, an action, or even an unspoken look. For women, these triggers can range from something as simple as feeling ignored to as profound as facing the betrayal of trust. But let's pause here. What is it that actually causes these emotional shifts? Why is it that something seemingly trivial can cause such a profound impact? It begins with the understanding that emotions are often tied to past experiences. For women, this can be linked to their upbringing, past relationships, or societal expectations placed upon them from a young age. Take, for example, a woman who has grown up in an environment where her voice was often silenced or ignored. As an adult, if someone dismisses her opinion or belittles her perspective, the emotional trigger can feel incredibly intense. This is not just a reaction to the present moment, it's a reflection of the past. A wound that has never truly healed, but has been buried under layers of everyday life. Now let's think about trust. Trust is another significant emotional trigger for women. Women, often due to their nurturing nature, can be more sensitive to betrayal or dishonesty. If a woman has been hurt in the past by someone she trusted deeply, whether it was a partner, friend, or family member, the emotional scar can linger for years. The pain of betrayal doesn't just go away, it stays in the background, like a shadow, ready to be triggered at the slightest hint of deception. This isn't just about logic, it's about a deeply ingrained emotional response that stems from past wounds. The heart remembers, even when the mind tries to forget. Yet, despite these emotional triggers that are rooted in past experiences, there's another layer to this complexity. It's the social conditioning women face. From a very young age, many women are taught to be caretakers, to prioritize the needs of others above their own, to be selfless and always available. This constant giving and putting others first can lead to feelings of exhaustion, frustration, or even resentment. Imagine a woman constantly putting the needs of her partner or children before her own. At some point, she may feel invisible or unappreciated. The trigger here could be something as simple as not being acknowledged or heard. She might feel a flood of emotions rise up: anger, sadness, guilt, all tied to the cumulative effect of constantly sacrificing her own needs. It's easy to dismiss these triggers as overreactions or emotional instability, but the truth is, these feelings are deeply valid. When a woman is triggered emotionally, it's not just about the moment at hand, it's about her lifetime of experiences, both positive and negative, that have shaped how she reacts and interacts with the world around her. These emotional triggers are her body's way of signaling that something is out of balance, that her boundaries are being crossed, or that she is feeling unseen, unheard, or unloved. But let's also recognize that women are not just passive victims of their emotional triggers. Women, by nature, are incredibly resilient. They have the ability to adapt, heal, and grow from these experiences. Emotional triggers can be seen as both a curse and a blessing. They challenge women to confront their inner wounds, but they also present an opportunity for growth and transformation. For a woman to understand why something triggers her, she must first look inward. She must take the time to understand the root causes of her emotional reactions. This self-awareness is a powerful tool, one that empowers her to set boundaries, speak up, and protect her emotional well-being. Consider the story of a woman named Sarah. She had always been the caretaker in her family, putting the needs of others ahead of her own. As she got older, she found herself feeling drained and unappreciated. She had been in a relationship where she constantly gave more than she received, and when her partner failed to acknowledge her sacrifices, she felt invisible. One day, during a casual conversation, her partner made a comment that seemed trivial, but it struck a nerve. She felt the familiar pain of being overlooked, of her efforts being dismissed. It was in that moment that Sarah realized something important. Her emotional trigger wasn't just about the comment, it was about the years of feeling unseen, unheard and unappreciated. Recognizing this allowed her to confront her emotions and set healthier boundaries in her relationship. In the next part, we will dive deeper into how these emotional triggers manifest differently in various situations, whether in romantic relationships, friendships, or even at work. The complexity of women's emotional responses is more than just a reaction to external events. It's a reflection of the internal landscape, shaped by past experiences, societal conditioning, and the need for emotional connection. Each emotional trigger, no matter how small it may seem, is an invitation to understand and honor the deeper emotions that lie beneath the surface. When we talk about emotional triggers, one of the most significant areas they affect is relationships. Romantic relationships, in particular, can be a breeding ground for emotional triggers. It is here, in the most intimate of settings, that past wounds often resurface, and the rawness of emotion can both unite and tear people apart. For women, emotional triggers in relationships are often tied to deep desires for love, security, and understanding. And when those needs are unmet, the consequences can be profound, creating a chain of reactions that affect not just the woman herself, but also her partner and the dynamic they share. Let's pause and think about love for a moment. Love is one of the most beautiful and complex emotions that humans experience, but it also comes with vulnerability. When a woman opens her heart to someone, she's trusting them with her most sacred emotions, her deepest desires, and her fragile sense of self. This is why betrayal in love can be such a powerful emotional trigger for women. The pain of being lied to, cheated on, or abandoned can cut deep, leaving scars that don't easily fade. But what many people don't understand is that these triggers are often tied to earlier experiences, sometimes even from childhood. If a woman grew up in a household where trust was broken, perhaps through the infidelity of a parent or the constant emotional turmoil of a broken home, this could shape her perception of love and trust as an adult. Her emotional triggers may not always make sense on the surface, but they are deeply rooted in her personal history. She may react with anger or withdrawal when her partner forgets an important date, or when there's even the smallest hint of dishonesty. This reaction is not a reflection of the current situation. It's a response to a deeper emotional wound that has yet to heal. Take the example of Jane, a woman who had experienced emotional neglect during her childhood. Her parents were constantly fighting, and the emotional instability she witnessed as a child made it difficult for her to feel secure in any relationship. When she entered into adulthood, she sought stability in her romantic relationships, yearning for a sense of emotional security. However, when her partner made a harmless joke about their relationship not being perfect, it triggered a powerful emotional reaction within Jane. She instantly felt as though her deepest fears of abandonment and instability were being confirmed. Though the comment may have seemed trivial to her partner, for Jane, it was an emotional reminder of the chaos she had witnessed growing up. This emotional trigger led to a heated argument, one that could have been avoided if her partner had understood the depth of her emotional landscape. It's not just betrayal or neglect that triggers emotions in women. Sometimes, it's the simple feeling of not being seen or heard. Many women experience emotional triggers when their voices aren't validated in their relationship. Imagine being in a relationship where you feel as though your partner is dismissive of your opinions, your emotions, or your needs. Over time, this can build up and create resentment. The emotional trigger here isn't just the immediate feeling of being ignored, it's the cumulative effect of constantly being made to feel unimportant. This can manifest in arguments, passive-aggressive behavior, or emotional withdrawal. When a woman is in a relationship, she often hopes for emotional intimacy, a connection that goes beyond just physical closeness. Emotional intimacy is built on the foundation of trust, respect, and the validation of each other's feelings. But when this intimacy is not present, when her emotions and thoughts are dismissed or invalidated, she feels alone, disconnected, and hurt. It's in these moments that emotional triggers become evident. She may react with frustration, hurt, or even anger, but what she's really feeling is the pain of being unheard and unseen by the one person who should make her feel the most understood. Now, let's turn our attention to a crucial aspect of relationships: communication. Poor communication can be a major emotional trigger for women. In many relationships, partners may assume they understand each other without taking the time to truly listen. This can be a problem, especially when it comes to emotional needs. If a woman's partner is not communicating openly or is shutting down emotionally, it can trigger feelings of insecurity and inadequacy. She may feel abandoned or rejected, even if her partner is not consciously doing so. It's the absence of communication, the lack of emotional availability, that causes the trigger. It's a sign that something is missing, something that is vital for maintaining emotional connection. Communication isn't just about talking, it's about listening, validating, and responding with care. Women, often being more emotionally attuned, need this level of responsiveness from their partners. If a woman expresses her emotions, her fears, or her concerns, and her partner responds with indifference, it can create a deep emotional wound. This indifference, though not always intentional, can feel like emotional neglect, and it often triggers feelings of loneliness, abandonment, and frustration. But it's not just about romantic relationships. Emotional triggers can occur in friendships, family dynamics, and professional environments. In friendships, women may experience emotional triggers when they feel betrayed or let down by someone they consider close. A close friend who suddenly becomes distant or makes a thoughtless comment can unintentionally trigger feelings of hurt and rejection. The emotional response may seem disproportionate to the situation, but again, it's tied to deeper experiences of feeling abandoned or unloved. This is why some women find it difficult to trust people easily. It's not just about the present moment, but the accumulation of past experiences that shape their emotional responses. In family dynamics, emotional triggers can be especially powerful. A woman may feel triggered by a comment from a family member that reminds her of old patterns of behavior or past trauma. For instance, a mother who grew up feeling unsupported by her parents may feel triggered when her own children don't acknowledge her effort. The emotional response may seem exaggerated, but it is rooted in the unresolved feelings of neglect or lack of appreciation from her own childhood. Similarly, in the workplace, women may experience emotional triggers when they feel undermined, disrespected, or treated unfairly. This can be particularly true in male-dominated industries, where women often face additional challenges related to gender bias or discrimination. In such situations, emotional triggers can be intensified, leading to feelings of frustration, anger, or helplessness. Understanding these emotional triggers is not just about recognizing a reaction in the moment. It's about developing a deeper understanding of the woman herself, the complexities of her emotions, the history behind her response, and the ways in which her environment shapes how she interacts with the world. When emotional triggers are understood in this way, it becomes easier to navigate relationships, communication, and personal growth. For women, emotional triggers are not a weakness. They are a reflection of their strength, their sensitivity, and their ability to feel deeply. And when these triggers are acknowledged and addressed with care, they can be the key to healing, understanding, and ultimately empowerment. Emotional triggers don't just emerge from personal experiences or relationships. They are also heavily influenced by societal expectation. Women, more than any other group, have been subjected to a complex and often contradictory set of standards about how they should feel, behave, and interact with the world around them. From a young age, girls are taught to be nurturing, to put others first, to be kind and soft yet also strong and capable. These seemingly contradictory messages create an inner turmoil, causing emotional triggers to manifest in ways that may not always be understood by those around them. Let's pause here and think about this concept of societal expectations. Society often expects women to balance multiple roles simultaneously: the caregiver, the professional, the partner, and the friend. Within these roles, there is a constant pressure to perform emotions in a way that aligns with social norms. A woman may be expected to be cheerful, warm, and supportive, while also being assertive, confident, and independent. This juggling act of emotions and expectations can lead to significant internal conflict, creating emotional triggers when things don't align perfectly. Consider a woman working in a corporate environment. She may be expected to exhibit a high level of competence, be assertive in meetings, and take charge in situations where decisions need to be made. Yet, if she exhibits any vulnerability or emotion such as frustration or sadness, she is often labeled as emotional or irrational. This is one of the emotional triggers women frequently encounter in the workplace, being judged for expressing emotions that are deemed inappropriate for their professional role. The trigger here is not just the emotional response, it's the societal expectation that a woman must be perfect and emotionally regulated at all times, while also carrying the weight of responsibilities that may stretch her thin. This is especially evident when women experience a sense of guilt for not meeting these expectations. For instance, many women are expected to be the primary caregivers in their families, which is often a demanding and thankless role. If they feel overwhelmed or exhausted from constantly putting others first, This can trigger feelings of inadequacy or failure. Society's expectation that women must effortlessly manage their homes, families, and careers without showing signs of struggle can lead to emotional exhaustion. This exhaustion, though often invisible to the outside world, is real and can lead to an emotional crisis when the burden becomes too much to bear. But the emotional triggers tied to societal expectations are not just about the demands placed on women in their professional or personal life. There are also the deeply ingrained stereotypes about how women should look, act, and feel. From childhood, women are bombarded with images of what it means to be beautiful, successful, and worthy. These ideals, often portrayed in the media, create unrealistic standards that can be difficult to live up to. The pressure to meet these standards triggers emotional responses related to self-esteem, body image, and worth. For example, a woman who constantly compares herself to the idealized images of beauty in advertisements may feel inadequate or unworthy when she doesn't meet these standards. Her emotional triggers in these moments are tied to a deep-seated belief that her value is determined by her appearance, an idea that is ingrained in her by society's expectations. There's another layer to this: the pressure to be perfect in every way. Women are often expected to excel in their careers, maintain a flawless appearance, raise children, and be supportive partners, all while remaining emotionally available and caring. This societal expectation can create significant emotional triggers when women feel like they are failing to live up to these impossible standards. They may react with frustration, anger, or sadness when they are unable to meet all these expectations at once. This emotional turmoil is compounded by the guilt of feeling like they are letting others down. But it's important to recognize that these societal expectations are not just arbitrary. They are deeply tied to historical and cultural context. For centuries, women have been taught that their primary role was to be caretakers, homemakers, and nurturers. This long-standing tradition still influences modern societal norms and shapes the way women perceive themselves and others. The emotional triggers women experience when these roles are challenged or when they feel they cannot fulfill them in the right way are deeply rooted in this history. Let's consider a woman who, after years of devoting herself to raising children, decides to return to the workforce. She faces a new emotional trigger when her choices are questioned by both society and her own inner dialogue. Am I doing the right thing? Am I a bad mother for choosing a career over spending more time with my children? These questions arise from the deeply ingrained societal expectation that women must always prioritize family over personal ambition. When a woman faces this dilemma, she is confronted not only by her own desires, but also by the societal judgments that come with defying those expectations. The emotional turmoil in this scenario is real, and it often leads to feelings of guilt and confusion as the woman struggles to reconcile her personal ambitions with the role that society believes she should play. Additionally, women often experience emotional triggers when they are held to different standards than men. In professional environments, women may find themselves subjected to the glass ceiling, where their career progression is limited by their gender. They may feel the sting of not being taken as seriously as their male counterparts, and this can trigger frustration and anger. Women are often expected to prove themselves more than men in order to be seen as equally competent. This inequality creates a powerful emotional response, especially when women are forced to work harder to achieve the same success as their male colleagues. But these emotional triggers are not just about the workplace or family life. Women also experience societal pressures related to their personal lives. For example, the societal expectation that women should marry and have children at a certain age can trigger anxiety and feelings of inadequacy in women who may not fit into this traditional narrative. Women who choose not to marry or have children, or who delay these life choices, may face judgment or criticism. These external pressures can lead to self-doubt and emotional turmoil as women question whether they are living up to society's standards of what it means to be a woman. Ultimately, societal expectations are one of the most profound emotional triggers women face in their daily lives. These expectations are not just superficial. They affect women on a deep emotional level, influencing their sense of self-worth, their relationships, and their place in the world. When these expectations are unmet, or when women feel they cannot live up to them, they experience emotional triggers that can be difficult to understand without recognizing the societal framework within which these triggers exist. In the next part of this speech, we will explore how women can heal from these emotional triggers. Understanding the impact of societal expectations is a crucial first step, but healing requires more than just recognition. It involves embracing self-compassion, learning to set boundaries, and finding support in spaces that value women for who they truly are,
not for the roles society wants them to play. Women can reclaim their emotional well-being, but it starts with the understanding that their triggers are valid, and that their emotions are worth honoring. As we reflect on the emotional triggers that women experience, it's essential to move beyond just the acknowledgement of these reactions. Understanding why certain things trigger strong emotional responses in women, whether it's related to their past experiences, relationships, or the weight of societal expectations, is a crucial first step. But healing and empowerment come from not just recognizing these triggers, but also learning to navigate, manage, and ultimately overcome them. The power to heal lies within every woman, though it is often buried under years of emotional conditioning, societal pressure, and self-doubt. With the right tools and mindset, women can reclaim their emotional well-being and learn to embrace their true selves, free from the burden of external judgment and internalized guilt. The journey of healing from emotional triggers often begins with self-awareness. When a woman feels emotionally triggered, it's essential to pause and take a step back. What is it that has triggered this intense reaction? Is it something from the present moment? Or is it an echo of past experiences? Perhaps a wound that hasn't fully healed yet. Self-awareness is the key to understanding the emotional storm within. It allows women to separate their reactions from the events at hand, enabling them to recognize that the trigger may be about something deeper and more profound. This understanding creates space for the healing process to begin. For example, let's consider Emily, a woman who has always struggled with feeling unheard in her relationships. Throughout her life, she has often been silenced or dismissed, which has left her with a deep sense of insecurity. When she enters into a new relationship, and her partner inadvertently dismisses her thoughts or makes her feel invisible, Emily feels a flood of emotions: anger, sadness, frustration, all triggered by the feeling of being ignored. Initially, Emily's reaction is intense, but over time, through self-awareness, she realizes that this trigger is not just about the comment her partner made, it's about her long-standing fear of not being valued. This realization doesn't make her pain go away, but it helps her understand that her emotional response is tied to something much deeper. By acknowledging this, Emily can begin to heal by addressing the root cause of her emotional trigger, not just the surface-level issue. Self-awareness also helps women to identify their emotional needs. In Emily's case, her need for validation and respect is something that hasn't been fulfilled in past relationships. Understanding this need allows her to express it clearly to her partner instead of letting the emotional trigger take over. This brings us to the next step in the healing process: communication. When emotional triggers arise, it's vital to communicate them openly and honestly. Communication is not just about expressing feelings, but also about setting boundaries and teaching others how to respect those boundaries. For women, communication is a powerful tool for emotional empowerment. It's important for women to communicate their emotional triggers in a way that is both compassionate and assertive. It may take time to find the right words, but it's worth the effort. When women articulate their emotional needs, they take control of the narrative and stop letting their emotions dictate their responses. This creates an environment in which they are seen, heard, and validated, not just by others, but also by themselves. Healing from emotional triggers also requires learning to let go of the pressure to be perfect. Society often imposes an impossible standard on women, that they must be everything to everyone, all the time. The constant need to meet these expectations can create immense emotional stress. But when women learn to let go of the need to be perfect, they give themselves permission to be human. They allow themselves to make mistakes, to experience emotions, and to set realistic boundaries without guilt. This release of perfectionism is free. It opens the door to self-compassion, which is essential for emotional healing. Let's take the example of Leah, who has spent much of her life trying to be perfect. She has been a successful career woman, a dedicated mother, and a loving wife, but she has also been exhausted, overwhelmed, and emotionally drained. The constant pressure to excel in every area of her life has taken a toll on her emotional well-being. One day, Leah realizes that she has been so focused on fulfilling everyone else's expectations, that she has neglected her own needs. This realization becomes a turning point for Leah. She starts to let go of the need to be perfect, and begins to prioritize self-care. It's not an easy process, but with time, Leah learns to recognize when she's emotionally triggered, and responds with kindness toward herself. She learns that she is not defined by how much she can do for others, but by how much she is willing to care for herself. This leads to the next critical element in overcoming emotional triggers: self-compassion. It's essential for women to treat themselves with the same kindness and understanding that they would offer to a close friend. When women experience emotional triggers, It's easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism or self-blame. They may ask themselves, why did I react that way? Or why can't I control my emotions? But this line of thinking only perpetuates the cycle of emotional distress. Instead, self-compassion invites women to embrace their feelings without judgment. It allows them to acknowledge their triggers without labeling themselves as weak or overly emotional. By treating themselves with compassion, women can process their emotions in a healthy and constructive way, rather than repressing them or allowing them to spiral out of control. Another crucial aspect of healing is seeking support from others. Women are not meant to navigate their emotional journeys alone, whether it's through friends, family, or professional help. Support is vital in overcoming emotional triggers. There is strength in vulnerability. When women share their experiences with trusted individuals, they are not only receiving validation, but also creating deeper connections. Sharing emotional triggers with others can foster understanding, empathy, and even healing. It helps women realize that they are not isolated in their struggles and that their experiences are shared by many others. This sense of community can be incredibly powerful in the healing process. Therapy and counseling can also play a significant role in healing from emotional triggers. A trained professional can help women unpack the layers of their emotional responses, guiding them to a deeper understanding of their triggers and providing strategies to manage them. Therapy offers a safe space to explore emotions without fear of judgment, and it can be a transformative tool for personal growth. Women may also turn to mindfulness practices, such as meditation or yoga, to cultivate emotional resilience. These practices help women stay grounded in the present moment, reducing the intensity of emotional triggers and creating space for healing. Ultimately, healing from emotional triggers is not about eliminating them entirely. Emotional triggers will always be a part of life. They are a natural part of being human, but the key is not to let them control us. Women have the power to respond to their emotional triggers with awareness, compassion, and strength. By recognizing the sources of their emotional triggers, communicating their needs, letting go of perfectionism, and embracing self-compassion, women can reclaim their emotional power. They can learn to navigate their emotions with grace, resilience, and authenticity. In doing so, they not only heal themselves, but also empower others to do the same. So, to all the women out there, know that your emotions are valid. Your triggers are not weaknesses. They are reflections of your strength, your sensitivity, and your unique journey. Embrace them with love, understanding, and compassion.